Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the entire state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving our signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter into those magical boxes known as radios, aka the Howard Reynolds machines. Welcome to the rest of the world who listens to us via the internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? You, we the people. Those are the ones who created it. Controlled by whom? The billionaires, something that we must take back. Because again, it's we, the people. Without further ado, let's throw it into El Estudio. Good morning, my brothers.
100,000 watts blazing across Southeast Texas. This is KPFT Houston. Good morning, Egberto. It's another fine day here at the radio. Friday this time around, and what do we got for you? I don't have anything. I just been watching all the stupidity on Facebook. So very interesting.
Wait. Howard, you don't have anything for us when we are going to get a non-vaxxer as HHS secretary, a guy that said he once had a worm in his head?
Well, this is, I'm more worried about Matt Gaetz getting the
God.
General. I mean, you want to talk about a cluster? Holy cow!
God,
I was listening to Tom Hartman yesterday, which is one of the things I rarely do, because he's on HD2 channel on the satellite feed. So I was listening to him, see what he had to say. He said, "Oh well, Matt Gaetz will never pass the congressional hearings and all that." And I said, he doesn't have to. Tom Hartman said there's a way for Trump to do it. Put him in as an interim and just leave him there.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah. If he gets to be Attorney General, we are all hosed. I would use a different name, but you know what I mean.
You're on the radio.
So, yeah, I'm more scared of that than that. RFK Jr., just go back to your rock, will you? All back under your rock, take your worm head with you, and go away.
And the beer. Don't forget the beer now. Yeah. You remember the beer that he messed with in Central Park, right?
I don't remember that story.
Okay,
I don't think I know that one. Well, Jack has some wisdom over here, but it's only about a third of a page.
What?
Yeah,
Jack, what's wrong, Jack?
Well, I put it in as few words as I could. The foxes are taking over the hen house.
Oh, they've always had the hen house.
Corporate power takes over America. America elected a president that is more in line with the corporate power than people power. And that's what the people will get. Bills, laws, and courts will put the corporate ahead of the citizens, and the foxes will run the hen house.
Oh, God.
And he's appointing them foxes right now.
I wouldn't call them foxes. But then again, we're on the radio, so I can't call them what they really are.
Behave yourself.
But you get my drift.
Yes. I'm trying to, man. I'm trying to. This is controlled rage that you're hearing.
Yeah,
so I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. And every day it just gets worse. What in the world is going on here?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was on MSNBC last night with Joyanne Reid. And, there were a lot of voters who voted for AOC, the most liberal person on the planet. Well, kinda. And as well as Trump. So she put out a query that says, this is not a judgment here, folks. I really want to understand how you voted for me and you voted for Trump. And you know what was one of the answers that they gave her? We voted for you because we listened to you. We voted for Trump because we listened to Trump. And that, even though for those of us who listen to everything in the aggregate and can make
critical decisions. That's about it. That is quite interesting. And again, no judgment again, but that says something about talking directly to people and not letting consultants do the talking for you. And, and the one thing Trump does is he just let it fly. The one thing AOC does is let it fly. And I don't know. I just wish we had a population that could actually see through the next level. But anyhow, the title of the show today, my brothers and my sisters, is America Fooled Us Once Again. Kamala Harris was asked to prevail over the failure of media and party. And I want to start the program with a clip that I want you to digest a bit. And I want you to call in about the clip. It's a 12-minute segment, so you can start calling after about 12 minutes or so. I want to play that, and then we will take it on the other side.
To me, it is clear that the Democratic establishment has got to be charged with malpractice. They have got to be charged with malpractice. Look, the last people to blame in general should be the population at large. Yes, you've heard me state categorically that Kamala Harris lost the election, not because of policy specifically, but because of gender and race. I stick with that. But here's the kicker. The Democratic establishment gave these folks who knew better but still voted against her the excuse to do so. Let me elaborate a bit. I had a whole lot of Panamanians. My group, Antex, had a whole lot of Panamanians over. We celebrated Veterans Day. We wanted to celebrate all the Panamanians who lost their lives, who've shed blood for this country, given Trump's behavior or belief that somehow those people south of the border are animals, criminals who are no use to this country. Well, we wanted to show that, most of us from south of the border actually come to this country, defend this country, and make this country what it is. But as I'm taking them back, Roberto and myself, we're taking them back to the airport. And we're seeing all these construction projects. Some of them are before the infrastructure deal, but a lot of them are since the infrastructure deal. Let me first qualify something here. In Texas, recently, all these freeways that we've been building for all practical purposes were toll roads. We have an evil state government that pretty much cuts taxes for the wealthy and the corporations. But when it comes to highways, etc., we yet pay the corporations to build the highways and to run the highways, which means we pay an additional tax to use our freeways here, especially those in Central Texas that are being built near Austin, etc. So we are on our trip to Austin, and I'm seeing all these construction projects, and I've seen hundreds, thousands of people working, good paying jobs here in Texas, a red state. But still, there was no sign that said courtesy of the infrastructure bill signed by Joe Biden. Of course, when the Democratic Congress passed the bill after Donald Trump crashed the economy with his response to COVID-19, he wanted those checks that he didn't want to give in the first place, that the Democratic Party said we needed to give Americans relief while this pandemic is on. Okay, I'll do it, but you have to sign Donald Trump on it. But all these infrastructure projects, all these chip plants that are being built, no Biden's name on it, no Democratic Party, led solely by the Democratic Party. The CHIPS bill, only support by the Democratic Party. The IRA, only support by the Democratic Party. The infrastructure bill, bipartisan. And then here's the kicker. The infrastructure bill and most of these bills, most of the monies for these bills go into red states. Why? Because they're the poorer states. They're the most needy states. They're the states that need the most. So all these big bills went into the red states, but there was no sign that said brought to you courtesy of the Biden administration. But yet, as the sign-in for all these projects are being there, the same Republican politicians who voted against them are there at the opening, and the people in those red states
states reward these people who didn't want to give them the bill, reward them with re-election, many of them with re-election. And for all the things that Donald Trump was unable to do, he had infrastructure project. Every week there was an infrastructure project, never got it done, never got it executed. Biden comes in, first year, gets the infrastructure project done, and now we're watching the fruits of that labor. We are watching, after 4 years, the success of the infrastructure bill, the success of the Inflation Reduction Act, the success of the CHIPS Act, and on and on and on. And there are so many policies that came into play. Donald Trump only did 3 of any substance. And yet, people claim they were voting for Donald Trump, the criminal, the thug, the rapist, over Kamala Harris because they liked his policies and they thought he would be better for the economy. Well, like I said, the Democratic Party should be charged with malpractice because these people just weren't seeing in boldface what the Biden administration did. And in the process, they gave people who needed a reason to fight, to execute their prejudice on Kamala for her gender and race. They needed an excuse. So ignorance was their excuse. Ignorance of not knowing what was done during the Biden administration, and the malpractice of the Democratic Party not to force it into their minds gave them the excuse for their prejudices to come out and say, I will vote for the thug, the rapist, over the intellect, over the smart woman, over the woman who can speak. Well, a little too late, but it's still and hurtful when seen. I want you to listen to this piece by El Señor Lawrence O'Donnell, because it lays it out as it should. Then we'll take it on the other side.
Instead of getting drowned in that fire hose tonight, we are going to begin what I hope is a series of reports to voters that are absolutely critical to voter participation in a democracy. Most important thing to know when you look at a ballot is what you are voting for. And that isn't easy to do because your only choice on the ballot is who you are voting for. Many voters mistakenly thought when they voted for Donald Trump that they were voting for someone who would get things done in their community. That's because most of us, and that very much includes me, don't always know who to credit for the good things or the bad things that government has done. Who did that? Who built that new bridge? Who rebuilt our airport to make it a state-of-the-art airport? Why did that new chips factory locate in that town? Who did that? The answers to those questions are critical to informed voter participation in a democracy. People will automatically get refunds from airlines next year when their flights are canceled, and they won't know that Joe Biden did that. People will be driving over bridges with their kids in the back seat, not knowing that that bridge was rebuilt and made safer by Joe Biden. It would take much more than the full hour of this program to describe what Joe Biden did as president of the United States. But for most other presidents, it would take less than an hour to describe what they did in the presidency. Donald Trump, in 4 years, did tax cuts and tariffs that raised prices, and he built a little bit of wall at the southern border. Not 2,300 miles of border wall, just a tiny fraction of that. That's what he did. You have probably heard many times on this program that what Joe Biden built as president compares only to what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did in 12 years in the presidency before there were term limits for president. President Roosevelt's revolutionary program that changed everything about the way we live in America was called the New Deal. The most poverty-stricken group of Americans in the 1930s were the elderly. President Roosevelt created Social Security and provided a financial security minimum for people over 65 that never existed before. President Roosevelt enacted the first minimum wage, massive infrastructure spending all over the country that provided jobs and improved communities all over, everywhere we live in this country. Donald Trump kept promising an infrastructure bill when he was president and kept having infrastructure weeks and did absolutely nothing. The Trump administration didn't write one sentence of an infrastructure bill, never mind have a vote on it. There should be a name for what Joe Biden did. Franklin Roosevelt came up with the name the New Deal when he was running for president for the first time in 1932, in the middle of the worst depression in the 20th century. He promised America what he called a New Deal for the American people. The phrase caught on right away, and reporters began referring to the New Deal in the first year of the Roosevelt presidency. And we still talk about it today as the most important turning point in the definition of what was possible in American government. What Joe Biden did should have a name like that. Everyone knew what you meant when you were talking about the New Deal in 1934 or 1944 or 1954. Our next guest has a name for what Joe Biden did.
President Biden understands that policy is about everyday life.
The middle class built the country.
It's about people.
And unions built the middle class.
He doesn't just see a road or a bridge. He sees somebody's commute home back to their family. He doesn't just see ships and ports and supply chains. He sees ways for us to get the things we count on at the grocery store. That's what all of this is actually about. Taking together a belief in how to use government to solve problems, a recognition of what we were up against, and a level of ambition. I think all of that is what has added up into the enormous progress that we've made in recent years. Something collectively I like to think of as the big deal.
Now, my question to you again, now that you are seeing what a new Donald Trump administration is starting to be, Matt Gaetz says Attorney General? Really? A clown as Defense Secretary? Oh my God, it's a caricature. It's a car full of clowns that's taken leadership position in the Trump administration. So we're leaving competence to incompetence. We're leaving successful a government that knows how to execute successfully versus somebody who allowed COVID to destroy our economy. Do we have a price to pay for what we voted into office? And for those who used their prejudice, that was on a facade of wanting his policies because his policies you thought were better. I mean, categorically or factually wrong, but you thought that. God help us. God help us for how 50.2% of Americans have screwed up. And it's on you. Your gullibility, we are going to have to live through for 4 years. Competence versus incompetence. Truthfulness over lies. But instead, we get the lies, we get the immorality, we get the dishonesty, we get the fraud, we get the authoritativeness, because again, you just couldn't get past your prejudice. And, I sincerely mean that. Look, when one cares about something, one should not have a problem or should not fear speaking honestly, looking into everyone's eyes and saying, this is what you've done. When I do wrong, I want somebody looking into my eyes straight up and saying, you did wrong. You made a mistake, whether knowingly or not. That is what you've done. As a country, we've made a huge mistake. And the stature of this country, and I'm speaking now as a naturalized citizen, an immigrant who has ties all over the world. The stature of this country has so diminished. And I know there are some people out there that think we are such a great country. We are so powerful that who the hell cares about anything else? What we do as we please. That only lasts so much. Every empire dies, as Richard Wolff would say. Richard Wolff has spoken about us being in the latter stages of our economic system, and we are doing a good job of speeding up a whole lot of where we are. It's imperative, folks, not just for us, the ones that are born and older now, but it's imperative for us as a people to take the look. I had rose-colored glasses on. I did.
I really expected more out of our country. And in fact, the second item of today is America Fooled Us Once, written by a former pastor in an evangelical church who I've interviewed a couple of times because I love his conclusions and where he has come, why he has left the evangelical church because of the evil it now represents, the particular ones that are pushing politics. Not all evangelical churches. I just want to clarify that, but what they're pushing. But before I go to that second subject, we have Moses on the line. Buenos dias, mi hermana Moses. Talk to me.
Buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. You're supposed to say buenos dias, mi hermano.
Hermano. Okay. Sometimes I miss my Spanish with my friend.
I know. Talk to me, Moses.
Okay. All right. Now, do not fear. Do not be dismayed. America, look at this carefully. The people was set up. Generations of Americans, education, knowledge was taken away from them. As a teacher, I saw it coming. For lack of knowledge, people perish. The people, a lot of them, did not have the intellectual skills to see the kind of tricks that were put on them. Number two, stolen goods does not profit the thief. He gives it to a doctor or a lawyer. It does not profit him. Number three, the Republicans built a wall of lies, but the truth will tear it down when the people begin to feel the effects of the confusion beginning to rise among the Republicans. You already see they have a rapist to do this. They have all the kinds of, oh my, it is just like pandemonium in hell. And the people will begin to see, the confusion will rise, and the eyes of the people will open. Number four, sometimes it takes people to feel before they understand the danger they were dragged into. And do not be afraid, do not be dismayed. The finger pointing is useless. It takes a process for the eyes of the people to be opened. And it will be opened because global warming and climate change and the confusion among the Republicans will tear the wall of lies down. That's all I have to say.
Moses, that was insightful, very, very insightful and very important. And I tell you that the one thing that folks have to keep on doing, however, is being active in their activism. Because in as much as I stated that that personally, taking my host hat off, I do want America to get what it voted for. In other words, the majority voted for, the majority of the people in this country voted for Donald Trump. Not the large majority, but the majority. And as such, and the majority of them, the majority of people voted for Republican politicians. And I think in a democracy, that is what occurs. You get the most votes, you win. So I am, in all honesty, want them to control the Senate, the House, and the presidency. I don't want there to be any excuses whatsoever for the results that are forthcoming. I want no excuses. If the Democrats would have won the House, all the bad things, because first, the Democratic way of speaking is poor compared to the shenanigans that folks like Trump are able to do, where they can deflect blame. At this point in time, there is no deflection possible. Moses, thank you so kindly for your... Go ahead.
Okay. Again, as I said, the people were blind. They could not see. They prepared the people for that.
Right.
They set the people up with all the ignorance and all of that. But sometimes it takes for people to feel before they can say, yes, now I see.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
know,
all.
thank you very much for that, Moses. I appreciate you. All right, let's go to Johnny. But before I come on, Johnny. But before you speak, Johnny, I just want to say something. You know, it was insightful when Lawrence O'Donnell said, "You see those refunds that you're going to get when the airline tried to screw you, thanks to the Biden administration. You see those credit statements that prevent the credit card company from lying to you as before and then socking it to you. Say thanks to the Biden administration." In other words, functional government, a government that just doesn't blow smoke, a government that's really doing its job for you. And what many have done right now is selected smoke and mirrors that, well, everyone will see. Johnny, come on in.
Tuesday, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, when Donald and his crime family walked out onto that stage after the news of his winning, did you count how many United States flags he had standing up on the wall behind him?
I didn't think he had any flags.
Oh, yeah. The entire TV screen that I saw.
Okay.
United States flags, one after the other. I'm guessing at least a dozen. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that. And why do I bring this up? Because of something you said a little while ago in your opening. That visual of the flags that he likes to do, that's one of his trademark images that he likes to put out because he likes to scream how patriotic and how much he loves America. And we all know that's not true at all. It's the total opposite. He has disdain for the American working class. We know that. Just like Rush Limbaugh had disdain for his listeners. Oh, a lot of you Rush Limbaugh fans are going to not like that, but that's the truth. Anyway, so what's the reason for this? When you talk about this narrative, this ongoing narrative about America is great, we're the strongest military, the best economy, we're the greatest, I've heard that since I was a little kid. And when I hear it over and over and over again, whether it's in social studies class, at my parochial Catholic school, or I see it on the TV ads at home, or I hear on the radio by Republicans and weak-ass Democrats who sheepishly agree, who are afraid to contradict in any way, that makes me, as a kid, suspicious. Because you're screaming it all the time. Why do you have to scream it if it's true? If it's true, it's self-evident, right? So those flags are the visual version of that phony baloney narrative that we get. How do we know that Russia or China can't kick our butt if we get into an armed conflict with them? They got a whole lot of people. And contrary to what some Puma Democrats like Stephanie Miller would say, that Russia is nothing more than a gas station. How do you frame that? Gas station with nuclear weapons?
Well, once you... that's a silly statement. Yeah, because once you have a nuclear weapon, the game changes. I mean, so you're no longer just a gas station. Thank you.
But see, this is the disrespect that we have for other peoples, that I don't like the narrative being controlled by people other than me, who might say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Russian people, they go to work every day, they have jobs. I've seen motion pictures of their cities. They have skyscrapers, they have ballet, they have shopping centers and stores and stuff. They have rural countryside like we do. They have poor people like we do. They have rich people like we do. So what is this gas station with nuclear weapons? When we minimize people like that, that gets me angry. Just like when we have this long-standing, since I was born, against Cuba, this blockade, all these series of sanctions against the poor Cuban people. And they still had the Christian charity to offer us help when we got hit by Hurricane Katrina and Rita. You remember that? And what did George Bush, the president, the Republican Party president at the time, say? No thanks. No thanks. They had nurses and doctors standing by with medical kits on the tarmac, ready to go to Louisiana and offer help. We are so arrogant. You are correct. And that's all.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people, the same thing they do with China and different countries in Africa. And when it's funny because
when a lot of there's a TikTok video that I saw with a famous star went to, I think it was Kenya, and was at a shopping mall in Kenya and was like, oh, wow, this is nice. This is, and folks on was tearing her up in the comments saying, why wouldn't you think you have that here? Why wouldn't you think you have that in Panama? Why wouldn't you think you have that in South Africa? Why? Again, and it's a narrative that we put out there. And in effect, we market a lie to those politicians know better because they've been to all these other foreign countries. But they lie to the American people to make them believe there is something there. We preach the what's that message? Not existential. We preach the message that there's no other like us when there are many like us. But anyhow, thank you, Johnny, for calling.
Hold on, real quick.
Go ahead.
You remember what Jay Leno said back in the day when he still had the Tonight Show? There was a news program, something about hurricanes, and the news, one of the networks had showed a response by the Mexican Air Force in response to helping the Americans, right? And then Jay Leno, they cut to Jay Leno, and he says, Mexico has an airport? I mean, an Air Force? Mexico has an Air Force? And it's funny because there's some truth in that Americans could relate to that. It's funny. Why? Because we don't see them as having an Air Force. We just see them as poor. We're picking our letters.
It's a shame. Anyway, thank you, Johnny. All right, let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, brother.
Hey, respectfully, I wanted to push back a little bit on Moses. Feel guilty doing it, but she's telling us to quit the name calling and things, and I wouldn't consider it name calling. But before the election, we approached this with logic. We approached this with morality. We approached this with every good path to try and get a good result. And that didn't work. So I think that we're at the point where people in this country don't like to think and they don't like to learn, unfortunately. So we're at a point where we have to shame these people. Because you get to a point where if you're shamed over and over, you get motivated to understand what your mistake was. Now, the way I see it, the mistake was turning our back on an economy that was at 2.1%, 2.2% inflation. At the end of the Trump
administration.
At the end of his term and at the end of his administration, I went from working every 2 weeks, about 160 hours, down to 45 to 60. And that started happening in 2018. I worked as a subcontractor for TxDOT.
Mm-hmm.
That money that we were talking about, the infrastructure bill that you were addressing earlier, it was a joke. Infrastructure Week was a joke in the White House. And that's what happened. That's what's coming again. We had a sure thing at 2% inflation, and now we took a gamble and put somebody in place that was a movie star and hates us, absolutely hates us. And we sold our government off to a billionaire for a couple $1 million to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I want to say is I'm very, very interested in Jeff's phone call. I think that was his name. He was going to call.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Jeff to call back because I'm ready to answer whatever he thinks that Trump did for him. But before you come back, Patrick, I don't think I name called anybody in my retort. I talked about there's a definition for the word gullible. It's not an insult. It's just something that one does. I was gullible in several things that I've done in my life. I've made sure that I'm no longer gullible. I have made uninformed, ill-informed things when I was a kid before. So these are not. This is a logical, true, and fair description
of what 50.2% of our population has done. And we will pay the price because we are a democracy for what 50.2% of the population has done. They did it democratically, but calling that what it really is not calling names. So, I hear you. Talk to me, Patrick. Finish up.
Yeah. I didn't think you were name calling, but what I want people to think about is Moses wants to be kind, and she wants to settle this with kindness. Kindness doesn't always win over violence and over cruelty, and that's exactly what we did. We don't need to be so nice to the people that weren't nice to those people around them that they're comfortable doing what they're doing. They need to be shamed.
Yeah. Anyway, Patrick, thank you. Anything else before I jump to, I think it's Betty coming up next.
Yeah, I'm just telling Jeff I'm really hoping that he calls in because I'd like to know what he researched for the last 24 hours that justified a decision he made a week ago.
So, Jeff, we're waiting on your call, my brother. Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's go to Betty. Come on in. Great. See you at 3. Come on in, Betty.
Hi, good morning, Egberto. Well, let's see. The race was close. And remember, blue is still here. And we will rise. If something comes up that's, like we did before, we'll rise. And we'll stay. And I will not go into hibernation for 4 years. And you don't do that either. Because we love this place on the map, the USA.
Thank you. Thank you, sis. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, with Joe, he came out to win against Trump. His health wasn't too good. He wasn't well. He came out and he gave his life, really. He really did.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love y'all, and that's about all. And remember,
love you too, girl.
Yeah,
you have
we will rise. Okay.
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Thank you, sis. Let's jump to Harry. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Brother Egberto again. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Magic Jack. Well, I'll just say, first I'll start off. I did listen. I liked your videos on Veteran Day, what you did, and I did listen Wednesday. So I like those. You didn't do a Wednesday live show. I like those videos you did on Wednesday. I listened to them very carefully, and once again, this show is edified and informative. And I'm looking forward to Jeff calling in. Doesn't do it today. Maybe he'll call first thing on Monday, and he'll explain to you why he made the decision he made to vote for Trump, what Trump did for him. But anyway, I was listening on NPR around 10:20 yesterday, and I heard another person say this, I think a few days after Trump got reelected. These Christian nationalist people, one of the person said yesterday on NPR, there's no such thing as separation between the church and the state. Now you have wacky people out there that voted for Donald Trump, something like that, who don't understand government. And as you pointed out on this show, the dumbing down of America, not understanding civics. Donald Trump has said it himself. He said it a lot during the campaign tour that he likes uneducated people because he can prey on them. And so he's able to beat them, and they came out and supported him. Basically that's what happened. And unfortunately, a few things that did hurt Kamala Harris, that they were during the campaign tour. You're right about the race and the sexism. All that is true, but there were people that were angry. A lot of working people were angry that she said she wouldn't change anything different between her and Joe Biden. And what Joe Biden did, she supported all of that. And there were working class people who wanted to hear her distance herself from what she'd do different. And I was listening to On the Middle last night on NPR, that show that comes out at 8 o'clock at night, and they were talking about that. And all that.
Let me break in here because you've been going for 2 minutes. Let me just say one thing, brother Harry. I have named the blog post that I'm writing for the video that I just did is that there was a dereliction of duty for not only the Democratic Party but also the media, because they kept on asking Kamala, what's the policy? What's the policy? So much so that she's described all the policies, and all these policies were middle class policies to help the middle class. All of that is out the door. Supporting social, giving Medicare to people who are taking care of parents, gone. Given for people having their first child or their child, giving them support to bring that child into the world, gone. If you really believe in small businesses and not the large corporations, etc., these types of business credit makes a difference. I wish I had it when I was forming my companies. Gone. So there are policy after policy. We can actually speak policy. You can't speak that under Donald Trump. I got to go to Derek Harris. Thank you so kindly for your call. Let's go to Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Hey, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, brother.
Good morning. As an educator, I got to also look at the educational aspect in the dumbing down of our country. Egberto, don't you know that the United States is still one of the world's leading functional illiterate type nations on the planet? I am so glad. To read, but just don't have no comprehension or understanding.
Derek, I don't want to sound presumptuous or anything, but unfortunately, you're right. When we compare national scores from around the world, first of all, let's be clear. We have a great caste system in the United States. That's what we have. Because if you come from a good family, you can get the best education and you're very well read. But that's not the majority of the country. And you capture it when you say that we have dumbed down the country, because what the elite has realized is that if you have a big country like this, you want to have a small number with an inordinate amount of power and money and wealth, then that's what you do. You make people not very smart. So as the progressive movement made people smarter back in the 60s and 70s, etc., we now want to take books out of schools. We want to stop critical thinking. All those things we're working strong to prevent. And you see it. The Republican Party idolizes on intelligence. That's why they say, you are just a smart aleck or whatever. They try to make dumb vogue. My phones are filling up, Derek. Give me a closing statement, sir.
No, that's all I was going to say. All I can say is got to be at some point in time, which I don't think is going to happen, but at some point you got to stop being a dumb devil following behind a wise Satan.
Thank you, brother. Derek, you have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Bart. Come on in. Line 3. Bart, come on in.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to help Jeff out with some of the things I'm probably going to do.
Oh, sure. Help him out if you can. I'm pretty sure you can, but go ahead. Help him out.
America does not want a DEI president. There was a mandate, a 312 electoral college.
What does DEI president mean, sir?
Do not want a woman that was installed just because she's a woman and she's black.
So we first of all, that's not a true statement. That's a false statement. So let's go to the next statement.
We don't want women. We don't want men dressed up as women in our government with mustaches and lipstick and dresses. I thought you were going to learn this, but you're not. So
learn what? Who is we? Who is we?
The voters. The voters
okay.
Don't want a guy dressed up
in other words, you want the voters to be able to take away somebody's inalienable right. In other words, I wish you understood the reason you have a Bill of Rights in your Constitution, but it's clear that you don't. So bring your third subject up. Come on, third subject. What's the third way you're going to help out? What's your third item?
I have him as a leader in this country.
Wait, I didn't hear your third item, sir. What's your third item, sir?
Okay, I have several. He's going to close the border.
The border was, again, that's a lie. The border was never open. We have an overrunning for various reasons. That is another vote that you guys made based on a lie. Give me your fourth reason.
Border is not.
Give me your fourth reason, sir. I've already discussed the border issue and the mitigating issues with it. Give me your fourth item.
Kamala was the border czar, and she closed the border, and that's why.
Give me your fourth item, sir. Again, I'm not here to entertain the lying portion of the methodology. Give me your fourth item.
We're talking about credit cards. Trump's going to cap the max interest on credit cards.
That wasn't done by Trump. That was done by the Democratic Congress and fought by Trump. Give me your fifth item.
It hasn't been done yet. He's going to do it.
Give me your fifth. No. Again, sir, that was done by the CBD already. Again, that was done under when we were under the control of the Democratic Party and Elizabeth Warren. Continue. You see, again, the uninformed. When you are uninformed, that is the biggest problem. Because again, the things that you're saying are so based on misinformation. Actually, not disinformation. All these. Let's go to the fifth item because so far you're 0 for 4. Go for the fifth item.
Okay, these colleges with their DEI and their woke.
All right, you're not making any sense anymore, sir. Let me go ahead and move on to Augie. Thank you, Bard. Bard, you're just giving out false talking points. Let's go to Bard. I mean to Augie.
Good morning.
Good morning, brother. How you doing?
Okay, so talk about the Mexican Air Force. They joined the fight against the Axis in World War II. They built fighter pilots.
Yeah.
And in the 70s, they started putting women in men's jobs in the military. And then when I got out of the military, started working at Southwestern Bell, the best supervisors I had were women. Out of all the other different supervisors, the best ones I had were women. And like I said last time, Jeb Bush said, when they debated against Trump, that insults would not get him the presidency. But it looks like I was wrong. He called the American military suckers and losers. He insulted the Gold Star families. And but just a lot of people didn't see. Somebody asked Trump one time about the voters that voted for him. He called them suckers too after his first election. But a lot of people don't get that. And in the Bible, it talks about, the New Testament, about words don't matter as much as your actions do. Trump, all he has is just a bunch of words and not much action. And a lot of people forget, in the first presidency, with a bunch of press around him, he had a bunch of papers in his hand saying he had a better plan then, better than the Affordable Care Act. And he had it in his hand, but then a cameraman zoomed in on the papers he had. They're all blank papers.
Yeah, it's funny. Look, let me tell you, first, I want to address two things that you said. I had in my lifetime in corporate America, which was only 5 years before I formed my own business, I had one woman president and 4 male presidents. My best, bosses. My best boss was a woman, and I understand why. Because I was in corporate America as an engineer working in the oil business, and she understood the tribulations that she had to go through with the prejudice she took. And because of that, she had the empathy necessary to really be a good boss. Women make some of the absolute best bosses because, again, they understand what it is like to have taken certain things. When it comes now to the other points that you make, Augie, it is so right. So anything else before I jump to Brian, sir?
So what we're aiming to lose is Social Security, the Affordable Care Act, Medicare, Medicaid, and a lot of other stuff that people don't realize. And they're complaining about the price of food. This one guy was complaining about it, that voted for Trump. I know him. He's got an expensive car, an expensive pickup truck, an expensive motorcycle, an expensive entertainment system. But he was complaining about the price of food. It doesn't make sense. And the walls that Trump wants, well, prisons have walls to keep people in. And that's what we're going to be in the walled-in prison if you build this wall.
Yeah, thank you very much. Augie, got to run, but thank you, my brother. And thank you for all you do for KPFT, sir. Have a good one. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Okay, Trump never called the service members of the United States of America suckers and losers. That's the lie that's been floating around for years. No one.
Why would you say it's a lie for words when we actually have? Hold on. Again, why would you say it's a lie when it turns out that we have it on video?
Okay, where's the video?
I'll get it for you. I'll go ahead and get it for you, but continue, sir.
No. Point us all in the direction of the website that shows Trump calling U.S. service members suckers and losers.
I will get
in front of everyone. No, don't get it for me now. Announce it to me now. Where is it at?
I don't have it. I said I'll get the information for you. So, Brian, if you're going to call the program and get belligerent, we can't have that. Okay? You don't ever hear me get belligerent with anyone. So watch your tone, sir. Continue. All right. I guess he couldn't control his emotions. Anyway, folks, the second part that we wanted to discuss, we don't have any calls right now. The second item on the schedule for today was America Fooled Us Once Again. I really, really like this guy. His name is John Pavlovitz. And John Pavlovitz was a pastor, I believe, in North Carolina, where he pastored a church. He was, I think, the youth pastor. And as he saw what Trump was doing, he kept on speaking up. And he finally fell out with the church because he could no longer be the ungodly one that continued to push Trump. So here's what he wrote yesterday. And this article really touched me because where he says we were wrong about America, when he says we, it means me as well. Wrong about America. And it goes like this. He says the result of the presidential election have force-fed many of us the bitter of pills. We were wrong about America. The fact that the results weren't even close despite Trump's campaign formed almost exclusively of xenophobia, misogyny, and white nationalism is confirmation that a substantial portion of this nation is no longer accessible by reason or data or empathy. I disagree with that slightly. It was a slight win, less than 3%. Numbered by a cocktail of optimism, ignorance, and wishful thinking, many of us imagined that the previous two elections were somehow momentary aberrations, temporary glitches in the system that would surely be remedied this year. We believe that after so much ugliness, such open disregard of people of color, such contempt toward immigrants, such a sickening failure in the face of the pandemic, such as an open assault on our democracy on January 6th, that we, the people, would surely come to rescue. We were certain that we would collectively course correct a nation that the pendulum that had so wildly swung toward humanity over the past decade would come roaring back to decency in these days, that we would presently be basking in the glory of a radiant dawn's referendum on all this senseless bigotry. We thought We thought we could be dancing together on the grave of fascism right now instead of holding a possible postmortem of democracy. We thought, of course, the good people of our homeland would come to their collective senses, leaving behind political affiliations and superficial preferences and ceremonial ties in order to help rescue us all from a malevolence that had proven itself unworthy of its position and toxic to its people. We believe that every woman of this nation and the men who love them would make an unprecedented stand of women to govern their own bodies. Yes, we thought all of this. We were certain there would be a mass repudiation of racism that this man has revealed and the violence he's nurtured. Because of all its flaws, we really believed America was better than this. We were wrong about all of it. We were wrong to believe that white people weaned for decades on supremacy would suddenly embrace disparate humanity and make more space at the table. We were wrong to believe that white evangelicals would finally have the scales fall from their eyes and abandon their blind adoration of this vile, narcissistic, false prophet of grievance and once again embrace an expansive, compassionate heart of Jesus. We were wrong to believe that kindness and science and facts and truth and goodness would be found more valuable than the fool's gold of a sneering star-spangled banner of greatness. It goes on further, but I'm out of time. The entire prose can be found at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. John Pavlovitz, I have the link to his actual Substack. He wrote a hell of a piece that every single person should read. Let me throw it to the studio.
Oh, nothing much here. I was certainly enjoying listening to your comments there. Jack, you got something? Yeah, Jack says the hen house is being run by the foxes.
All right.
Yeah, probably so.
All right, folks, look.
Take it home, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly. All my listeners love you all. And I mean that from the depth of my heart. That's the reason we work so hard and do what we do. Look, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter has the remainder of the show with all the videos, etc. You can reach it there, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out